Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, what does sensorality stabilize? Looking to show the direct iteration and stabilization of sensorality, which will produce our definition. And so this morning we discussed functionality. Is there a unique relationship between bass and range, right? From rhythm to algorithm. Linguistically, I want to say range does equate to more. We've discussed how range is not out there, it's on a distance further away, right? If you have more range in your vocal quality, the intuition, how soft can you sing? You can map, you can echo, or you can just match the vocal quality of other singers, but just some intuitive conceptualization of what is range. And so we have a set bass, the set amount of sounds that you can make. We have different ways to represent them, different alphabets. But functions are chronological. One thing happens after another. And so is there a unique relationship between bass and range? And I want to say, again, algorithm, from rhythm to algorithm, is that more or less rhythm, right? It's very literally something rhythm. But functionally, things you put non-sentient sorting devices, you train them based on choice or based on consent, you put in some parameters, it executes some functions automatically. We call that an algorithm. Rhythm, the fundamental principle of maximum efficiency. If you want to do any physical process and you want to maximize that, you're going to form a rhythm. And so what is that relationship? I want to say again, you have something, and that thing is the bass. Rhythm being the principle that regulates all motion. Its inverse is vibration. But I want to say we can have, again, this stabilizing syllability that we're looking for comes from a derivation from range to bass, right? From rhythm to algorithms, our expansion, and then our derivations from algorithm to rhythm. Again, I could look up the finalization, completion of speciality, but it was, again, in this numeric four syllable elements, right? Just four syllables. Right, speciality, special, special. Again, I'm not going to look up the answer. There's no real point to or not to, but going from this derivation from a higher numeric syllability down to a lower numeric syllability, that process shows the stabilization of the syllables of sensorality. And so rhythm, 2 syllables, algorithm, 4 syllables. So again, this even syllability, in the same way you have no even prime numbers, because of symmetry, should reduce. And through that reduction process, we have this, again, I want to say the stability is in syllability 5, just like speciality is 5 syllables, sensorality is 5 syllables. Again, we already know the specific solution. We know the quality of what the solution does, and we just need to show that iteration. And that really stems or comes from what is this relationship of bass and range? We have one thing, it differentiates. I want to say that's growth, but it does that. But then again, we don't have physically more things, right? We have the conservation of charge, the conservation of mass. And so, right, algorithm is not more rhythm. And right, if you have a set amount of sounds on your vocal quality or a set amount of tones for the musical scales, but you have infinitely many songs and infinitely many chord progressions, and the range is differentiation. And then physically you can't have more, it's just a different shape or different form because you can't create or destroy mass. Again, just continuing on with our derivation, what is a function? Functions are chronological. Was our big fundamental theorem of mathematics that we discussed and derived this morning. So continuing on, sensorality happened, right? I can't believe that just happened, because the stabilized syllability is in the past, right? Past tense I don't like, but you get what the intuition's fine, but this completable syllability is past tense. It's definitive is the overarching correct word. Sensorality is happenstance. Stability is predictable. What is the function of language? What is the point of words? What is the point of grammar? Well, what is language? I'd say any sound with meaning, or I would just say any order with meaning, right? Morse code. It's not vocality, it's not verbalization, but it's order. and so it transmits meaning. A language is an order of something that transmits meaning. So that's the function. Again, posing any question that presents. A lot of questions in this section. Sensorality is a safe bet. Connecting our variable, sensorality, to a cliche, and again, this derivation process gives us our definition. Sensorality is a variable currently, and then once we stabilize it, it will have a definitive working definition, generally relative in relation to all other fundamentally, all the other words we've worked through. How does chronology function? Stuff happens, right? What is the functionality of chronology? Is chronology functional? Chronology just meaning things happen in order. Yeah. What is the chronology of society? Well, we definitely, in our society, we definitely have those stories, right? We're all grown on storytelling, and then we go from, one to many, quote unquote, G-word situation to, monotheism, but it's individualistic. We're becoming more differentiated by our individualism. Whether that's a religion, a country, a political base, right? Each person is infinitely unique. What is the chronology of society? Less death and suffering, hopefully. Society is sociological. Sociological is societal. What is the chronology of sociology? And chronology and sociology, emphasizing the S and the C iterations, all of these questions just relating to the concepts. Sensorality is societality. Sensorality filters novelty. Sensorality is noveltality. Sensorality is novel. Another result independent of one language, novel, nivel, in Espanol, right? It means level. Novel, level, that VEL is the same through all three words. Novelty is unique. Novel is different. Novelty is essential. So just came to me, I wanted to say speciality, the tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism, speciality, infinite uniqueness. So then sensorality is infinite differentiability. This is what felt like I should say that there. But again, we're showing this fundamental inversion or stabilization of syllability. Outside of one, the result will speak for itself once we arrive there. Function is ability. Functionality is abilitality. Also wanted to point out there explicitly that ality, when you have a word that ends in a ty and then you add ality, because you don't put the other y on there or something, it adds 2 syllables. Numerically, it adds 2 syllables. Ability, 4 syllables. Abilitality, 6 syllables. And that's another emergence of this fundamental stability of 2. Sensorality is celebratory. Are celebrations obligatory? Obligation is dependent. What is independence to completeness? Right? I am an independent person. I am a complete independent person. Right? Kind of the same thing. What is dependence to incompleteness? Kind of, again, this is in that form of that 2x2 matrice, our fundamental stability of 2 to show this fundamental differentiation of syllability, but moving along. On a personal level, it feels like there's a lot of questions to ask right now. It feels like I should point that out, but in reality, again, we're just iterating through all of the linguistics. Conceptually, we're not saying anything new. We've already demonstrated the complete analytical process, all of the different analytical tools, all of the major proofing. We're just trying to arrive at this right question: what syllability contains sensorality? Is charge electric? Right, the electric charge. I've said it a bunch. It's been introduced to you as electric charge, but now we've clearly demonstrated this irreducibility, this indivisibility. So electric is an adjective. Right? What kind of charge? It's an electric charge. So then what is charge? Right? Is charge definite? Is there something that is a finite size, even if we can't interact with it? Yes. We wouldn't have, again, all physical systems scale proportionally. So we wouldn't have, again, a definite weight if charge wasn't definite, And the dynamic of charge produces mass. Mass is still definite because it's bounded within this. You would need some physical process to break this bounding, and it's not. Nothing exists. And so mass is emergent, but it is also stabilized. That's why you have in particle theory the electron stabilized for this long, but sometime in the future in math, in the equations, it might destabilize. No, there's no physical possibility. You can't create or destroy mass. You can't create or destroy charge, right? That's our fundamental stability of two for properties, mass and charge. But we still have this chronological development of those properties. Charge came first, then mass. So is charge electric? I want to say this fundamental physical dichotomy of positive and negative isn't charge. Or isn't like when you say electric charge, it's just more like mechanical or something. Or no, it is. Words have meaning. What am I trying to say? Charge is charge. I don't know. Again, just thinking any logic that comes to mind. Because once we find the stabilizing intuition or stability, all of the intuition goes away. Like it really does. And these are like all intermediary steps. And because the progression is so fast, trying to capture as many as possible. Sensorality presses charges. Now, we're still in physics class. We're not in legal class or legal. We're not in court. But like literally presses charges. Is charge compressible? Right? Mass is compressible. But if you have something that's a definite finite size, kind of like by definition, it is not compressible. So I want to say charge is incompressible. Yeah, that's what I want to say there. What is pressure to compressibility? Right? Pressure equalizes. You're on a plane. Don't open the window. You'll destabilize the pressure, or the pressure will diffuse out. So sensorality equalizes pressure. Compressibility, can it be reduced? Like compressibility is reducible. Again, posing the questions that present. Equal, sequel. Sensorality is sequel. Chronologicality sequels. Sequeling follows. So now we can restate the fundamental theorem of physics. Rhythm preserves energy. Right, we have things in motion. We want to preserve the ability, the movement potential. We form a rhythm to minimize the dissipation of that potential. And so, just continuing along with our derivation, again, no independent step is any more poignant than anyone else. It's just trying to isolate the right question to ask that will stabilize what is sensorality. My rights continue to be violated. It is profoundly and extensively illegal. I continue to beg just for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and work. I have no expectation that will ever change, and I continue to document as much of the prolific crime as possible. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.